So we were just talking about church hurt a little while ago, and so for the people that do get church hurt, how do you feel like they should? Because like I said, we're an elusive group. It's easy for us as a ball player to be like, all right, you got on my nerves. I'm just gonna go back to my life. All right, I'm just gonna go back to practice, to the parties, to the hoopla and stuff with the sport. You know, but you really need to have that community. How would you advise, someone to get back into that community if it's not the community that they just left? Then maybe it's another church.
I will say that this is something that has impacted me personally. So I say that it's about reframing. So reframing is a therapeutic technique that I love, and it's just reframing the situation. So we know what church hurt is, but let's reframe it to someone at church hurt me. That's different. The church
Mm,
hurt you. Someone or some people at the church did hurt you.
mm,
And so don't make it a global assessment. There's still some amazing people at that church. Um, and it's like people I've got some bad chicken from Safeway. I took it back, got my refund. I still go to Safeway. I
mm,
still go. I didn't say, forget that. The chicken was bad. It was old. They gave me no, I'm still gonna
yeah,
give them another chance. And I still
mm,
have given them several chances since they and has it happened again? I've got something else that was bad, whatever. So we're so quick to say this whole entire church hurt me. No, this whole entire church did not hurt you. Someone in that church who is a human being with flaws, simple person, whatever, that person hurt you. Now, I would never say stay at a church that you're uncomfortable, you're not being fed, but I would never say leave a church quickly. Sit in discomfort sometimes. People don't want to be uncomfortable ever. If you're still getting a word there, sit in that word and let God work it out.
mm.
Let me give you an example. This I was in the 23, 24. This deacon at this church was so mean to me. He would never talk to me. He would just be just a saint of the church. A couple of years later, he walked by. He was like, I just wanted to say apologize to you. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I was just mad.
Mm.
Never been around a woman that was taller than me. I was insecure.
Wow,
Well, thank you for telling me that.
that's real.
I'm 23. That's a kid to me. Okay. This is a at the 50-year-old person who was insecure about something about himself and the way I made him feel. But I stayed the course. Another time, I'm in the choir. I'm going through something else, totally different. Mm, I'm going through something totally different. I'm crying in the choir, and someone reached. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said about you.
Mhm.
Mm.
Had no idea this person had been talking about me, and her own conscience made her apologize. So I say that this is a funny thing because people's own that's their own stuff. Stay the course. If you're being fed at the church, stay. If you feel led to go and talk to the person about the situation, biblically, you are supposed to. Okay, you're supposed to go and talk to that person about it. Um, but let's just reframe it from church hurt to somebody at the church hurt.
That's a good point. I was the thing that I was thinking about while you was giving your response is, for me personally, I don't do sucker stuff. Like I just don't. I'm not a fake person. Like I don't like to talk to people that just have done some shady stuff. I will if I have to, if it's some business or something. But like typically, most people are like that. They don't want to have to constantly see the person that offended them. Okay, and then when I think about an athlete from an athlete's perspective, um, when you go, you already dealing with a bit of that from your sport. A lot of stuff is going on that's fake around you, and you have to navigate through that. And so when you come to your church, you feel like that's your safe space that you can be fed and all these things. But even with there's going to be people that offend you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the issue is when you do leave a church, okay, if you don't have like a set situation that's quickly put in place, the biggest issue that you do is you lose your covering.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that
Mm.
that 20 or 30 people praying for you that you didn't know was praying for you. You lose the tutelage and the advice that you're getting from those pastors and ministers and other church members. that's there. And so when you isolate it, whether you on the team or not, that's when you can lose your abstinence. That's
Right.
when you can get into
Right.
drugs. That's when you can get into alcoholism because you isolated. And you know how it is when you isolated. That's where the devil wants you at. Okay,
Right.
now I'm seeing all these temptation at you, and you don't have a shield.
Mhm.
So the church hurt thing is such a big thing for both people that's in athletics and not. But I'm thinking just from an athletic standpoint because you already away, like you're not leaning on your family as much because they back home somewhere wherever home is.
Yeah.
So it's so important to get established into a church as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Once you get somewhere, and if things do get if you do get your feelings hurt, if someone does irritate you or something at the church, to get with the church community as soon as possible.
Yeah. And then, you could be hurt by the pastor.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
that happened to me too. And in this situation, I didn't tell anybody because I knew the last thing you wanted to hear is, I know that's what pastors, that's I don't trust. That's what, I didn't. So I had to keep that to myself because I'm still trying to protect the global church,
Yeah.
which,
Mm.
which was to my, this is when I was young. So I wish I would have told someone because I was caring so much for a long time. But what it did for me was it showed me, the Bible, God said, okay, I am on the pedestal. You've been putting this man on the pedestal. You've been putting this position on the pedestal, and I'm the only one that should be up there. And
Yeah.
so it actually turned out to be good that he hurt me, that I saw something different because it made me realize that he's still a man. He's still, when I say man, like not man, like he's still a human being
Right.
with flaws. And uh, I stayed at that particular church, and our relationship changed, but it actually got better. But if an athlete is hurt by a person in leadership, that's a different type of hurt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a different type of hurt. Like it's like
No, facts.
the one person I thought that I could count on has let me down.
Yeah.
Tough.
But I thank God for, the Holy Spirit being able to still talk to us and still talk to those people and surrounding them with still godly people that can, show them, um, give them the word. But I wouldn't jump away from a church before you've really prayed about it and talked to someone you trust.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
You
for
made
the reasons you said.
you made a good point there because I think that there's certain type of people that when you get hurt by them, man, it hurts more than anybody else. I would say your parents,
Hmm.
your I would say probably more like your high school or your college coach. You're probably going to spend more time. Well, maybe not now in college because they transfer so much.
Yeah.
But you had a coach that's been with you 3, 4 years, something like
Mm-hmm.
that really saw you, raised you up a bit. That person hurt you. That hurts bad. Your pastor who basically you feel like is the person that's shielding you from because. I mean, it's like what's the song by Drake? He said a bunch of handshakes from the fakes. Like you that's the life you coming from as an athlete. You gotta meet a bunch of people that don't really mess with you like that. You have all these type of people that's coming around you trying to get something from you. And so if you find a good situation where you have a pastor that's pouring into you, that's building you up, and then or even a minister or someone in a leadership position there that you really counting on, yeah, that's bad. That's painful. That's real painful because you already are living a lifestyle to where you're dealing with a bunch of nonsense on a regular basis. So I'm glad you made that point.
I want to say, and again, I pray that this is received well.
Mhm.
Um, Another challenge are the predators in the pulpit with young ladies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I say this with sensitivity because I do know that there are churches who cover their members who do feel like they are fathers to the members and who do feel like, but then there are some who are not. And that's even in the word.
Mm-hmm.
There are wolves in sheep's clothing. And so if a young lady, if you ever, as a young lady, ever feels like uncomfortable or someone has propositioned you or someone has made you, tell someone,
Yes.
tell someone. That happened to me several times. And I rarely said it. That's why I'm saying it now in my 20s. And it was a time when I was primed for the word. I loved the word and I wanted to be, I was at all the church services. I was at the Friday night services. I was going to the services that we were guest churches. I was going to that. And so there, oh, we would love to meet you. We would love to meet you. And in those meetings, it was, I want to, mentor you.
Mhm.
And um,
Kind of
it
move.
was not, it was not handled well.
Yeah.
And me, as a 47-year-old looking back at that, it makes me angry the way it was handled. But I thank God. I truly thank God for his covering and the Holy Spirit speaking to me through those times. Because again, I didn't tell anybody, not even a friend, because I was still at that time covering the church.
Mhm.
But I was angry at the same time with the church and with the church. So I want to say to a young lady, you trust your feeling, trust your instinct, trust your uneasiness, trust your stomach, your gut, trust it. And because there are great men and women of God, but then there are some people who are using that position um, as
So,
predators.
yeah.
I'm glad you said it because, that's one of the questions that I asked a lot of pastors and ministers over the last year or so is how to deal with those type of situations. And you should not be meeting, if you're a young lady or even a grown woman, you should not be meeting with a pastor or minister of the opposite sex alone, like in a meeting scenario. It should be it should be one of the mothers in the church or the first lady or somebody like that in the meeting with you for those type of situations. And then vice versa. If you're a young boy or a young man or whatever, you should not be meeting with a female minister or even possibly even a male minister as well, especially if you're a younger guy, like high school age kid or something like that, or because you also need a third person in there as well. Just so those type of things don't happen. And it could possibly happen with more people in the room, but it's much less likely to happen when you have more numbers in there. So keep that in mind. I mean, that's a crucial thing because that could knock someone out of their walk for,
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
and you need that covering, whether you're an athlete or not. You need that covering because life is going to happen and things are going to get significantly worse in your life, handling different challenges when God's not in that driver's seat and you don't have a community. You can still be praying and reading and doing all those things, but at some point you need someone physically there and have a community that's going to ride or die with you.